Our pillars are community, education, and innovation. We have chapters worldwide, number of meetup events, and a thriving online community, over 5,000 members on Slack. So check if your local community has a NeurotechX chapter. If not, please get in touch with us. Love to help you start one. And same goes for your college or university. Check if there's a student club. And if not, get in touch. Love to help you start one of those. Definitely join our Slack. And there's a link in the meetup agenda, also off of neurotechx.org. And neurotechxedu.com is the online educational platform. And you can sign up for newsletter and check the NTX services job board. All right. So, another super busy week. Things going on. And too much to actually follow, but yeah, wanted to great. Speaking of NeurotechX, other NeurotechX meetups, had the pleasure of joining both the IDUN Dryode Alpha presentation, as well as the NeurotechX Zurich meetup this morning. Their evening, and Mayank was doing presentations in both. They were actually running them concurrently, which I thought was kind of. I mean, I guess it works if you can split your workforce across the two presentations, but he went from doing one to doing the other, and. As always, he's for freshman undergrads is just amazing. I mean, now a freshman undergrad, even though he started when he was 16, I think. Anyway, they were mostly showing off, still what I would call. It's not BCI for gaming. It's like, finding particular kind of like, alpha power changes that you can control, and then tying those to some action in the game, which is, again, like he's so much more accomplished than I was at 18. But I still don't think of that as like, as the goal of neurogaming, or I think we need to do better than that. But certainly some, and then on their Dryode discussion, it went from the gaming to looking at sleep, and I think mainly just the issue that you have with sleep, which is like, especially if you're using traditional electrodes, like how do you, not wet as in the EGI wet, but wet as in, say, paste, versus dry electrodes in terms of what kind of contact and, how stable is that contact over hours, and, with kind of sleep movement, which are all like perfectly, both difficult and, somewhat thankless.
So what were they talking about on that topic, Morgan? Were they talking about specific devices or specific solutions?
Yeah, they were talking about their stuff, or like certainly their engineer. I believe is Andreas and Andreas Fuss with an umlaut, and was showing off that, so I couldn't totally catch it, even though I kept both presentations going. The NeurotechX one started halfway through the iDone one, even though it was like Mark was doing both presentations and so was Mayank. So it was you had to pick and choose. But yeah, definitely like Andreas was showing off and talking about the kind of electrode stability issues, and certainly Andre, who's with that this guy, he's in London now with a startup that's doing something optical in London. I think he used to be at Donders. It's like Andre Marquez. Anyway,
sounds like someone Cristiano might know.
And sorry, let me just. Somebody's asking. Anyway, there definitely were questions about, like, what's your amplifier system and things like that. They, as far as I could tell, they were building things, and I believe that's certainly their final goal. Like their real commercialization goal is to own the stack, not just be using somebody's equipment. But honestly, because I was switching between the two conversations, I didn't always catch the answers from both. So usually at this time, also starting up, if anybody's here for first time, if you don't mind introducing yourself and telling us what brings you here. I don't know if I just scared Anne away.
Can I start?
Yeah, hi.
Hey, so my name is Aniruddha, and I'm a graduate student at University of South Florida. So before coming to the US, I was working on dolphins, and when I got then I wanted to switch my domain. So I wanted to go into aerodynamics. So I started applying for universities, and I got the acceptance from USF, and that's where I saw that like a professor, Dr. Marvin Anduha, he was working on brain controlled drone, and it was the most similar thing. Like it was the most similar thing to what I wanted to do. So I just so when I came over here, I took his class of BCI. In the first semester, we made an authentication system using motor imagery with emotive cortex. Afterwards, I started working in the lab under the same project of brainwave authentication. But side by side, I was also learning Unity game engine because I kind of wanted to use that with conjunction with video games. And right now I'm working on LSL for Unity under a different project, and I'm also working towards my thesis. I'm really interested in motor imagery. I really like it because the enhancement part of brain-computer interfaces is something I really like. And kind of like I'm kind of stuck in between on how to get multiple actions and not to have the accuracy drop, because that's one of the problems which are having, apart from the fact that brain data is unique. And so whenever like we have to do multiple actions in a video game, the accuracy is dropping, right? So I'm kind of in the middle of on how to solve it using different techniques. Something I have come across is clustering algorithms, because hypothetically clustering algorithms are the ones which are working, and there are some people who out there like have proven that with clustering algorithms, k-means plus plus or something, it's giving out good results. So after the semester is done, I'm going to be working on my thesis completely. That's all.
Gotcha. So you think that, will the thesis be focused on signal processing of EEG?
Basically motor imagery. So yeah, kind of like signal processing. Yeah.
Okay, but really the whole classification and then action. Okay.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. Can you put a link to the lab?
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'll just do it. I'll put it in the chat itself.
Because I think I've seen. I want to say I've seen some demos from this lab.
Yeah.
Maybe from you. I'm not sure.
Not exactly from me. Actually, in 2017 or I think so 2018, there was a brain drone race at USF.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay.
Yes. So I'll just post up the link in the chat.
Sure. Yeah. Let me. Oh wait. No, I don't see anything in the chat.
Yeah, just a second. I thought like I was waiting for something. Yeah, just a second.
Okay, sure. But thank you, Dan, for the link, or X for the link. SF Hardware Startup Meetup.
Hi, Morgan. Dan here. Are we doing introductions?
Sure. Or please introduce yourself.
All right. This is not my first time, but it's one of the very few times. It might be my third time attending a NeurotechX, Neurotech SF proper. Oh, this is NeurotechX International.
We're kind of we were the SF meetup. We've got John Griffiths here from Toronto. We've got Jaden in Las Vegas. We've got potentially some others that are really outside of SF proper.
Okay, so NeurotechX. Well, we're talking to the rest of you all from the heart of the mission, from Noisebridge hackerspace right now.
Yeah.
And I have enjoyed Noisebridge very much as welcoming and occationally downright inspirational facility where I've been fortunate to have met a few other neuro students, I guess. And we've been meeting weekly on Wednesdays up until we couldn't get into the physical space anymore back in the spring, which has focused, if I could use the word focus very loosely, has involved pursuit of homebrew EEG, including starring Masahiro's Brainduino. So this guy's been doing EEG since the 90s, like hacking hobbyist accessible, very like audiophile, aesthetic, filters and amplifiers. Anyway, it's good stuff. You guys with your all integrated, programmable gain amplifier chips, that's great. But the Brainduino is like nuts and bolts, like dozens of capacitors and all kinds of things to solder. Anyway, that was a large part of our neurohacking experience. We've also done a bit with just machine learning and covered just a wide range of interests. Personally, my background is undergraduate studies in neuroscience with a particular interest in neuroimaging a long time ago. So back in the early 90s, I worked for a neurologist for a couple of years, looking at information content in EEG. And since then have been programming nuts and bolts outside of the research realm. But I guess I would describe myself as a latter-day dilettante and dabbler, and representing noise bridge in all of this. So looking to see what happens in 2020, the decade after the decade of the brain.
Right. The second decade of the brain. Yeah. So and I've definitely come to some of the Dream Team meetings on Wednesdays at the old space. So yeah, I'd love to talk about, or certainly one of the topics this evening is going to be what alternatives are there in the sub $200 range for EEG, and which if our speaker this evening is able to make it, the Spiker box is one of those, in that it's a very low channel count system. It's all open source, and the wonderful thing about their company is an open, what is it? I think it's called an open books company. Yeah. So is this the right Brainduino? Or there's a lot of projects called Brainduino, I believe. And
I'll pull up a wiki page for Brainduino version 2 and drop a link in the chat.
Okay, because this came up. It's come up in a number of spots, both on Slack and on Facebook in the brain computer interfacing group. There's a lot of BCI groups, and so there's one where it's the gerund, and that is Brendan Allison's one of the admins of that one. Anyway, somebody asking again about can you get a good EEG, or can you get a working EEG system for $100, and is it electrically safe? It might be the follow-up question. I'm not sure. Yeah. So I don't know if Josh has joined us yet, but I'm not sure, Jaden, if what I've sent you in the mail is electrically safe.
So I dropped the link
Good to know. Okay, so when you say not sure if it's electrically safe, what's the potential for danger here?
Well, it's just that
Should I be grounded at all times?
Well, just that if you've plugged it, you need to plug. It needs to be plugged in to work. To collect data, then it needs to be connected to your head. That's usually
what's its potential to send electricity back into my head?
Yeah.
Usually,
how good are you with shock therapy?
I tried those zinc patches.
So
and I got TMS, so let's do it.
Which I do want to come back to as well. We never fully did that teardown.
Yeah, and I need to unfortunately buy some more to do a more in-depth teardown of it, because I don't know where it went.
So just jumping ahead in the at least in the the links that I put in the meetup, big brain stimulation set of meetings this week, and some really cool stuff in particular from Marin Bixum's group, which so he's the CEO and founder of Soterix. In addition to a number of other things, and also has a great research lab that I can't remember what the name of it is necessarily, but at what is it, City University in Brooklyn, yes, and yeah, so lots of computational electromagnetics of injecting current into people's heads, and both ECT and TDCS. So, which again for in psychiatry, it's super interesting to know, or to at least try and also put under these modeling as a very important research area, like what is actually going on in ECT, and can we learn to do it better and without necessarily inducing seizures. Yeah, but so I'm sending Jaden one of the free EG32 boards, and Andrei Parfenov has received his finally in Moscow, and Devesh is going to get one, and and then of course Josh has been working with him. He's not. Don't see him on. Okay. Yeah. So switching, following our tight schedule. Hey, John, do you want to talk about plans for BrainHack Ontario and what we can do to help?
Did I mentioned this last week, right?
Yeah.
In which case there is no major update yet, and the dates are 2nd to the 4th.
Well,
and yeah, like on my to-do list this week is to I did actually start doing this, is putting in so the BrainHack Global has a kind of unified project kind of listing now, which is a relatively new thing. So I need to put in a project on that, and then I need to start kind of rallying people in. But these are all kind of to-do list things. So nothing specifically on BrainHack yet, over and above 2nd to the 4th of December. And we want to have you join us, and we'll be hoping to be having a enthusiastic and large-ish group of people from around the world chipping in on different components of the project to their interests. But exactly how much of a international cadre we get together, that kind of depends a lot on who's interested.
Well, so again, like around EEG notebooks, Andre, so BrainFlow developer would certainly be interested. He joined us Paris time. The only thing to work out is like how to best, it's like if you can do something where he's doing something in the morning, and then it's doable for him his evening,
So sorry, go ahead.
Well, then I was just going to say, then I talked to AJ and Alex from Neurosity, and about, so Alex just posted a tutorial of Neurosity plus BrainFlow, I believe. And when I saw that, I was just like, hey, it wouldn't be too much, new, or at least even just having them demoing something where they're using the EEG notebooks to collect data. And
do you know what they're focusing on paradigm wise?
Well, so they were just focusing on I don't think they were, or I think it's very much like their stuff, which is like kind of like real time, focus and attention kind of measures. Right.
They also have like a motor imagery type thing, but its performance is hit or miss sometimes.
Okay.
Well,
but that's how they do so I don't know if he has a tutorial up still, but I know Alex is trained. They call it training a thought essentially to git push a repo, and so he can run it and then just think and push and commit his repo. So it's
wow. I mean, there's one thing that we all need a bit more help on. It's our Git, right?
Right, but It's motor. It's supposed to be motor imagery, but how much of it is actual motor imagery is up in the air. I haven't done a full like breakdown of it yet, but that's what it's supposed to be.
Actually, I had a talk with him yesterday. In here, the hurricane was coming up, and we were talking. We were discussing the tutorials and stuff. So he told me that they are using less number of electrodes just for motor imagery. And I saw that I saw the link of his video on Twitter. So it was like really possible, because like when we are considering motor imagery, usually even emotive cortex is like this, or we need a lot of electrodes. But basically, we need this region only, and for them it's working actually, that they are able to do it, the algorithms and stuff.
Yeah, I have some issues with it sometimes. I think because of the way mine sits on my head, I have to kind of like put it at a weird angle, and so the electrodes get a little bit of a different coverage on my head. Mm-hmm. But I did train training thinking about moving your tongue, and I actually got that to be pretty accurate. So it does work in some regards, but that also might just be because moving your tongue probably has some significant like residual I guess EMG signals that going through the face and head. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm sure
thoughts on that, John?
Moving your tongue, that will be like a super detectable signal with EEG because of the motor, because of the muscle related signles. Not.
Oh, well, I guess I was just thinking about moving my tongue doing it. So I guess there'd still be like
Well,
so
it depends how close you were to doing it, then, doesn't it?
You mean the accuracy?
But only like sub-articulation, you can nearly do it. But sure.
Actually, there is a paper.
I'm not an expert in EEG of the tongue.
Actually, there is a paper where it uses like tongue as an authentication measure for motor imagery. And I was like, how tongue is related to that? But yeah, it's interesting, to be honest. Because when we think about it, like the noise, our heart is the loudest organ out there, and that's one of the main reasons. Like when we do signal processing for anything, so heart is the one which gets in between, and tongue is also coming from this side. So to distinguish those two noises, that would be a thing, that algorithm.
So one of the jobs for the getting together and kind of properly organizing the brain hack event, or the EEG notebooks component of it, will be getting people on things, not having too many, but having a few things that like we want to see done, but also allowing for people to come in with like new ideas and new things they want to do that they're kind of coming in with some specific knowledge of, but also not having like a million different crazy new things on the go that don't get done, etc. So if you do find yourself having conversations around bringing in new people, then that's something to kind of get like start thinking about or prompting people on is do they have like a specific really cool feature that is doable and that makes sense, or are they pretty just like open-minded and just want to jump in on something, and or do they want to just do some recordings as well, which would be perfectly fine as a contribution, like not even so much coding per se, just with data recording. I think that's something that we want to, I think we can allow as part of the sprint as well. So I'll be trying to figure these things out, iron these things out in the next few weeks, but everyone can chip in and help out formulating this.
Yeah, certainly. What I was talking to Alex and now AJ is about doing ERPs with a Notion 2, which is not kind of like, it's a little out of their comfort zone. But I was like, look, it kind of is working, and we could show it, and even better, it's like we would have them to be giving any feedback in terms of things we were seeing. as well as hopefully like giving them actually a demo of ERPs working with Notion 2, and just thinking about what works with their particular configuration, which would be kind of motorish, or certainly. What's is there a motor task?
No.
No.
Oh, that I mean, Kyle's thing has some button presses.
Yeah.
It's an attentional kind of queuing.
That's fine too, right? I mean, certainly wouldn't be bad. Sorry, let me just close the door.
So yeah, like new devices, new tasks.
Yeah.
Obviously, just boring stuff like documentation and testing. I would say those are the main things, yeah, and recordings. The kind of groups of things. Oh, and analysis, yeah. So I think there's a lot of scope for a bit more on the kind of ML data analysis treatment of the data sets. Currently there's the scikit-learn classification stuff that presumably Alexandre did 5 years ago, whatever. And there's probably a million other things we could do with that data. So it'd be nice to see some just alternative analysis demos. So that would be a nice thing to see people do as well, and that'd be relatively easy to do because that'd be completely device free. Be purely signal processing, analysis, statistics, machine learning, and maybe there's some interesting combination of Moab functionality and applied to the EG notebooks data sets, for example. Like, I don't know much about Moab, but
it's I mean, you can use it for other things. Like, certainly we're hoping that we'll have enough to we can at least do something like add a new data set to Moab, with the pipelines being like the thing we would like to do. And I don't think Rashik's joined us yet, or maybe won't be joining us this evening, but we're trying to do both. I've certainly asked Sylvain. I asked him a while back, like, if he would be free to do something. Again, like, his issue seems like he's pretty busy during the day, and then he's pretty busy at night with family duties. But he's been really supportive in terms of, he did try and get in a couple new data sets. Like, there's still some things that I would like us to like try and close out on GitHub on Moab. Some pretty simple things, or even just testing the SSVEP stuff that he's put in a pull request, but he hasn't merged. Like that would be kind of cool. You could add, you can do other things other than motor imagery and SSVEPs. I think there's like one P300 data set already in there. Because I think it might be from like a P300 speller kind of thing. It's like a BCI-ish kind of P300, as opposed to an ERP kind of P300. If that makes sense. But you could totally apply it the same way. I mean, you could do the classification the same way. Yeah,
cool.
That would be great, and we're certainly trying to have something where people could talk about, doing the what was in the BCI Society workshop last year. You know, just like super intro to it, and then, you know, like trying to step through how to add a data set and how to add a pipeline.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the things I was also thinking for the brain hack thing was to prepare a kind of talk. And I'll either do this, I'll either like pre-record it or I'll do it during the brain hack event. But it would be, I think, it'll probably be between half an hour and an hour, and it'll be, what are we trying to do? Like, what's the point? What are we trying to achieve here? What are we not trying to achieve? Yeah. Which I think both of those two things are worth spelling out up front.
Sure.
Time locked, visual stimulus experiments, right? That's the principal thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's just time locked, it's not just visual. But anyway, yeah, that's something that, I'll be kind of probably circulating some slides or something, seeing what people think, but that can be a useful, just general kind of resource as well. Just kind of point people to it after the event and say, here's the intro. Like, watch this YouTube video, and John will reveal all.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I was thinking about maybe like you'd use the date to either like try and invite like, or see if like Chad Boulay would come talk about lab streaming layer, or at least ask Alexander, Alexander or Vinay, who are kind of in your time zone, if they've, at Barachon, because like so much, we still really depend on, Muse LSL, obviously Pyrimon, Moab, all of these, started as Alexander projects. Maybe he would come in.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I was definitely gonna do a kind of, just an email or a message out to as many people as I could kind of pull out of the legacy, just to tell them that we're doing this event, and also just give them an update on things. I don't know if everyone's like following at all, but a few people have contributed over the years, like a lot of people more than me, who aren't like doing so much at the moment, but it'd be great to kind of bring them back and say, hey, this is where we're at.
Yeah, definitely. Who did we have a few weeks ago from Tiego's lab? I bet he would come. Ray Cassini.
Right. Yeah.
Like for sure. Yeah. So now I know we're going to be getting to speaker at 7, but hey, Ryan, do you want to make your announcement? Because I'd love to hear this, and let's get this out.
Yeah. So for those, I'll introduce myself a little bit quickly. I know a lot of people here already know who I am, but for those who might not know, I'm Ryan Sternlicht. I'm a researcher, educator, hacker in San Francisco. I often hang out at Noisebridge with people like Dan, and am usually there on Thursdays. But I've been preparing for an event a hackathon event this weekend that I wanted to announce here, called Darren Schwartz Day International Hackathon. I've participated in it a couple of years. We've had a couple Neurotech SF projects shown there a couple of years ago, and a couple Noisebridge Dream Team projects shown as well. This year we're doing everything virtual. I can share the Eventbrite to the event, but I want to share my screen for a second. Yeah, so this event focuses around digital information rights and privacy rights, as well as activism and freedom of information related stuff. It's in memory of Aaron Schwartz, one of the founders of Creative Commons and a really well known activist and a freedom of information researcher. So I am one of the speakers, but here's a list of the other speakers this weekend. This is all going to be on Saturday. We also have a couple hackathon projects that start a bit earlier in the day. And for any researchers here, there might be a pretty interesting announcement. I from the archive. I don't know how long till it's ready, but there are things that they are trying to do, and I've talked with them about improving their neurotech related archiving and seeing if they can archive any neurotech databases or like EG data sets and whatnot. It's really cool. So I just wanted to share that with people. Thank you very much for listening. And if anyone has any interest, you can go check out the link I posted. I'm going to be announcing it also in the Slack and Discord as well. So if people want to see more details, and it's going to be streaming on YouTube and Facebook this Saturday. So come join us. And hopefully next year we'll have enough time to set up some neurotech related stuff at the hackathon again. This year, this all happened way too quickly, so we didn't have enough time to reach out on any neurotech projects.
I mean, this did awesome speakers, and yeah, like Cory Doctorow's talk, or the talk is early onset Oppenheimer's.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's terrific, and yeah, I mean, total pioneer, and yeah, very happy to see that Aaron Schwartz Day is continuing. So yeah, we've got the link. I would have posted that on the meetup. I mean, we can put it in the comments, as well as definitely like let's put it on Slack too.
Yep, I'm writing a post right now. Yeah. I have 10 places I have to post it tonight, so I'm just getting it well written. But yeah, thank you. No. I hope to see a couple of you on watching this stream or joining one of the projects. And maybe next year we should talk about what projects people in this group want to do at a hackathon like the Aaron Schwartz Day hackathon early next time, because like creating databases or creating ways that people can access their own biodata and secure it is something I know we've talked about at different Aaron Schwartz Day meetings a couple times. Is like I'm going to be talking about extended reality information and security in my talk, but big part of that whole thing is also related to biodata and the different data that's starting to become more accessible to people, but is very like personal data, and how we can protect that and make sure we only give it to the people we want to give it to, which right now, Facebook, or actually Apple has so much heart rate data and stuff from their watches. They probably could create an algorithm that could predict quite a few precursors to certain things, which I know they've been trying to do.
Yeah.
And like, that's cool, but also there's times where you might not want them to have all of that data, or you want to make sure they encrypt it or anonymize it when they're using it, because they are probably using it.
So I put in, a couple links that are somewhat relevant. Certainly, tomorrow, please catch the. I've put it in the meetup link. It's the biomedical data sciences seminar series at UVA. Has got Jessica Turner talking about Enigma, which is a large scale psychiatric collaboration, and CoinStack. And CoinStack is basically their federated learning tool. And then OpenMind just today announced a partnership with both Facebook and PyTorch, Facebook AI, and Future of Humanity Institute in Oxford announced courses and that they're going to be running. That's covering again federated learning.
Yeah.
And there are ways to do this, and for people to control their data, especially when it's of great privacy concerns. But at the same time, it's so important that data is shared, or that data is looked at ensemble, in the sense that why we need projects like Child Mind Institute, Healthy Brain Network, and is because we've got to move psychiatry forward.
Very much so. It's
really large data sets. Yeah.
Yeah. This is the time period, these next 4 or 5 years, where if we do this wrong, it's going to be very bad. A few big companies will have all the answers and they won't share it. But if we do this right, every medical researcher in the world will have access to ungodly amounts of data that they can use and test and develop treatments and different things with. And we want to make sure that's where we head towards.
Sure. Well, let's not say we're going to. We don't have to end this here, but let's just move on. Just because I'm not sure what time zone Neil is in, who's joining us. Hey, Neil.
Hello.
Yeah. Hiya.
Hi. Sorry, my camera is not operating for some reason, but my mic is, so I'm here.
That's awesome. So. Please. So, Neil, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Sure.
And you're coming to speak here in lieu of Tim, but really, really happy to have you join us.
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, I'm definitely here to listen to Tim. And I, just by way of background, I come at this from kind of a dementia avoidance perspective. I have a business called Sustain My Brain, which is primarily focused around employing innovative technologies and advances, as well as other things that are more common sense to help people avoid dementia at any phase. And so I'm a geek by nature, so I have fallen into a lot of the 40 hertz gamma research from MIT, and actually invented some 40 hertz devices, and now have stepped into kind of open BCI and QEEG stuff, really just in effect to kind of act in early diagnosis of seeing what's going on in the brain, and being able to act sooner. So I'm super interested. I am definitely not in the research realm that you guys are in, but I'm very grateful to be here.
Okay. No, sorry. Yeah. And actually I'm, not quite sure if Tim is going to be joining us. He's not actually got in touch. Sorry. I thought that maybe you were saying that you're waiting for Tim. I see now you're saying you're waiting for Tim. But yeah, still hoping. But
okay.
very, very glad you could join us. And yeah, we are very open to questions. If there are technical things that we can help you with or talk about. I'm just checking. Yeah, still haven't.
So Neil, tell us a bit more about your company.
Oh, sure. Hang on. I went away from the screen here. So it was really kind of driven off of my parents' decline into dementia, most particularly my father, and kind of wanting to employ any possible approach to head that off. So I did a lot of studying, kind of took a multi-phased approach, did some things around supplements, some pretty kind of interesting things, kind of a double bubble toil and trouble potion that I put together for him that brought him to clarity like I'd never seen, or I hadn't seen in quite some time, and kind of built from there on really anything. I tried so many different things to try to get him to just hold steady, really. And he was at a point where he regained so much, I don't even want to say cognitive function, but just the ability to kind of level off. I think he probably was able to do a little better than that, but he got to a point where they kicked him out of hospice, actually, because he had progressed so much. And that was kind of an interesting thing. I asked the question, I said, so how often do people get kicked out of hospice? They're like, well, never, so that was encouraging. But then I started to employ the gamma side of things, light, sound. I did vibroacoustic stuff, invented some devices, and every time, actually he had stopped eating at one point, and I, through using a device that I invented, after using it for about 20 minutes, he was hungry and ate. So that's why all of this is pretty fascinating for me, because I've seen it applied, and now this side of it to really kind of understand brain signaling and neurotechnology to be able to be in a position to, whether it be QEEG or other technologies, to kind of map and be able to kind of look at, perhaps early warning signs, and, be able to act accordingly. So, that's, I don't know if that answered your question or if that was too much.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I thought you said that you had a company that were doing some kind of cognitive enhancement or BCI type things, but maybe I caught
No.
something else.
My company is currently doing 40 hertz work, so we are not doing BCI. I'm very fascinated with it, and am planning on actually getting some of the devices, and potentially could use some help from this group in terms of interfacing. But yeah, sorry if I misconstrued that.
No, that's what I was thinking. The 40 hertz, yeah, close enough. Neuromodulation.
Yeah.
It's sound therapy.
That's part of it for sure.
But it's auditory. It's not like visual light
It
flickering.
is visual as well.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of action in that space.
And well, there should be.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're not going to want to like give away any of the trade secrets and all of that, but how do you go about choosing where to enter in kind of relatively new tech market? Like, do you have like I said, without giving away the juicy details? I mean, how's like navigating into that been for you?
Well, I think it's really just about kind of understanding the demographics and, figuring out where, if you're trying to apply this kind of technology in a way to, it's an early warning for people who potentially are going to be suffering dementia, then it's really just about, knowing that audience and targeting that audience. And, given that there's no pharmaceuticals at this point to do anything, it kind of opens up, whole realm of possibilities. So, yeah.
So Neil, are we talking about the same thing? I just dropped a link. Do you see this the chat window on the left side?
I do not.
There's on the bottom left-hand button that if you hit that, you'll get a chat sidebar.
Oh, yep.
Yeah.
And then hang on. Let me just pull it up here. Bear with me a second.
Sure.
Yes. Yep.
And
yeah, I think it was the paper came out and there's a lot of interest and we all read it and sort of discussion on the data and stuff. And then, I mean, I wasn't paying a whole lot of attention, but I feel like it went a bit quiet from that group. And the assumption was that they were hard at work developing some, IP or some products or something or other.
Yeah.
And, they said we weren't hearing like a whole load of new academic outputs, but no doubt they were kind of definitely hard at work following up on the stuff that they reported on. Yeah.
So Lin-Hyu Tsai presented at last week's mini symposium, Neurophotonics mini symposium. They're definitely still talking about it. I'll see if I can get the that was SPIE mini symposium. I think they've got those recordings.
Have they demonstrated this in humans, or was this was in mice, right? This paper.
Or certainly what she was. What pretty much everybody was presenting at this mini symposium was like rodents or mice.
Right.
Yeah. There are clinical trials going on with different kind of incarnations of the technology, but I think it'll still be in kind of a FDA wellness category for quite some time to come before it can be, really demonstrated to be a valid medical device. So lots of work to be done, but pretty accessible technology. My experience with it, anecdotal as it may be, and not within a clinical trial setting, has been pretty positive. And so I'm actually launching a site just dedicated to 40 hertz before the end of the year, and be a lot of interesting stuff out there. And I'd certainly be happy to post a link on Slack when I do.
Sure. Yeah, please.
That's
and,
awesome.
and I posted a link for the
Forward to hearing that.
for the mini symposium, and they do actually have all the videos up too. Anna Devor hosted that. I guess it was almost 2 weeks now, but
Cognito Therapeutics is the company.
Yeah,
that's Ed Boyden.
Cy and Boyden.
That's right.
Boyden, yeah.
That's right. Yep.
Yeah.
However, they're not the only ones. So there's a preponderance of companies out there working on the technologies. So
and I mean the other big
I
news.
wonder how many different ways you can shine light into the eye.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's lots of ways you could do it actually.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely some different delivery approaches, and also how you might couple it with sound, or there's lots of ways to get the vibrations into the body. So lots of room for innovation there, at least at this point.
It was certainly a really impressive meeting for some of the animal work, and it was like multimodal, and some really impressive stuff from what's the I think it's the Yale group doing. Is it simultaneous fMRI fiber photometry? I mean, it was just amazing. It was Yale. Evelyn Lake. Yeah, that was really impressive. Great set of videos. So my apologies for this evening. If you're here for Tim and Backyard Brains, I'm afraid we seem to have not connected this evening. I'm not sure what time zone he is in. Whether he was in Korea, and his LinkedIn says Chile.
So it could be a time zone issue.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'm happy to either pull up some papers or, and again, I think it's really interesting what their company is doing, not only in that they're building, around open source, hardware and software, but they are also an open books company,
right?
And which I put in the meetup links, because you can also see what basically how they spend their money.
Right, exactly. I was interested. I've done a lot of poking around in the company and looked at some of the TED videos and YouTubes and all that, and I think it's great. But no problem. If you're able to reschedule at some point, I'd love to.
I've sent him an email. Still hoping that we can find a time, and if maybe Thursday evenings just aren't don't work. But yeah, hopefully we'll reschedule that.
All right.
It'd be great to have him.
Very good. Well, it is. I'm East Coast, so I'm about 10:30 here. So I'm going to sign off. It's been a pleasure talking to you, and
Thanks.
look forward to rejoining. And
so you are on Slack.
I am on Slack. Yep, great. I'm on Slack.
Great.
Yep. So thanks again for letting me join in here, and have a good evening, and look forward to reconnecting in the future.
Thanks. Neil.
Take care.
Nice to meet you, Neil.
Likewise. Bye-bye.
Here's the this is the if you want to see Backyard Brains is so because it's open books, so they have as of our latest sale, it's a totally updated, it's a dynamic, I guess, a dynamic web page and visualization. So they've sold almost over 16,000 Spiker boxes, and let me just pull up one more. So this, of course, is the does that change it? Yeah. So this is the original paper from back in 2012, and I don't know if people remember about maybe like 5 or 6 weeks ago, we had Mohit Patil join us from University of Florida, and he was talking about the IEEE summer course or summer school, and that Tim had participated in. And so we got to see a bit of a demo that that they did together, that Tim did with a Spiker box. And, I also love this just because it's so in the spirit of NeurotechX, where it's like, they talk about democratizing neuroscience, and certainly, like this is definitely a product that is aimed at the, early education market, as they, talk about quite clearly, but their more recent stuff, and I think I've got this page.
Morgan, I didn't get the family name of Neil.
Of Neil?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can get you, or I can share his Slack. And I will have to check, because he sent me a message.
He's at Backyard Brains.
Is Neil? No.
Okay.
Sorry. I thought he'd sent me a message that I'd misconstrued as like he was going to be speaking for Tim, and which you know, I misread just because I haven't heard from Neil. I mean, from Tim.
Got it.
But yeah, it's a stimulate, or he's working on stimulation, and I'll, you know, I can share on Slack with you his contact info if you're interested, or
Yeah.
you know, yeah, his Slack. But their more recent so but more recently they've moved on to even multifluorescence imaging, but again for teaching purposes. And let's see if this will. Oh. So, you know, maybe. Sorry, it's loading kind of slowly. It will get brighter. There you go. So it made me think a lot of the open source hardware meetings that that used to take place at MozFest, and that would be another great thing to talk about. Planning for this spring, but here they are building, you know, some. Again, it's another kind of Raspberry Pi board based system, but for doing, you know, something that, again, when you see some of the, I mean, this isn't, I don't think is not used for. Oh, let me see what happens. It's not exactly for the kind of animal stuff that. Here we go. These must be pretty big images to be taking so long to load. But still really useful in terms of understanding, you know, some of the additional equipment, especially really great conversation, or really great virtual classroom today that was hosted by the Allen Institute. And it was the title of which was like classifying cells by their electrophysiology, if I remember right. Anyway, but they also talked about a lot of, you know, RNA-seq kind of data, and, you know, all these are you know, complex pipelines that are using tags, and you know, these having some nice intro equipment is still really useful for teaching on this, teaching in this area. And yeah, so I'm sorry that Tim is not able to join us and give us an overview, but what's this last? Oh. And the last paper that I put on the meetup agenda, I did this for, you know, like 6 weeks ago when he was supposed to be there, and just remembering this now, but I found this paper of his, and which I loved just because so the missing manuscript of Dr. Jose Delgado's radio controlled bulls, which again, like this came up in both the it came up in the NeurotechX Barcelona meetup. They actually showed some video of Delgado's bulls, and the bulls are described, and the experiments are described, of course, in the Pleasure Shock book. That again covered some really, some really interesting, some really interesting stuff.
Also in Douglas Fields' book, which I read
Yes.
recently.
Yes, yes. Yeah, the electric brain, or
Because I heard that in that book, Electric Brain, and then I heard about these bulls about three different sources since then, in the past 2 months. So.
Yeah,
and it's like everyone's talking about these bulls.
So
maybe they were before, but I hadn't noticed.
So this is Faraz, one of the leads in Barcelona, showed like maybe a couple minute video, but this is just a slide of that video where he's got the bull coming towards him, and then can basically make the bull stop in its tracks. And I mean, is it? I forget if it's now in the Electric Brain or in Pleasure Shock, but that somebody, I think I want to say it's the Fields book, where he goes, because he goes to Spain to visit some research labs, and they are talking about it, and they're like, he really got lucky with this bull. Like he
had no idea where he was
no idea
to fit in.
And
and there was he was talking to these old people who were like his former students, former colleagues, saying he was an absolute nutcase.
Right.
But still somewhat kind of visionary. And I think he kind of formed the department or something, so he was kind of had to played a major role in in developing neuroscience in Spain.
And I think it's super interesting that if you remember that I think it was like European Congress of Neurology and Psychiatry or something, meeting where they're talking about deep brain stimulation for psychiatry, for things like schizophrenia. A lot of the researchers were in Spain, or a lot of the people doing it were there in Madrid, and I can't remember if it was exactly where he was, but it still seems to have a legacy there. And so
hey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, you guys want to see the EEG interface I've been working on?
Sure. So can you give us some context first?
Okay. Mind if I share my screen?
Sure.
Okay, cool. All right. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I'm working on this EEG 32 project, right? And one of the issues is there's really no software for it. There's some like modules on EDF and OpenVibe, but like nothing homebrew. So I've been working on this, and it's cool. It's using the new Web Serial API. And then I've got a, let's see here. Okay, can you see it animating?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm tapping on the ADC inputs. Oh, hold on. I have a really bad, whatever the heck, USB cord. Let's try connecting again. Okay, there we go. Well, anyway, it's just analyzing it in real time, and I can analyze like all the channels simultaneously because I wrote like GPU math I wrote fast Fourier transform math on the GPU. So like I'm tapping on the electrodes, and you can kind of see the spikes start to show up for between 5 and 10 hertz because I'm tapping fast enough. I keep losing connection just because of my wire. But anyway, so it's cool. It's like a real-time interface. And then if this thing reloads, hold on. I just tested the alpha coherence. Well, it's not alpha coherence. It's just coherence math, and that actually seems to work too. But so the two main uses I've seen for it. Man, my cords suck. Hold on. Bernard Marcus, he's making like headsets for these things, and he teaches meditation, and the way he provides some validation for that is looking at alpha coherence. So I was trying to make like a little alpha coherence app for him. This is all super rough form. Okay, so I'm tapping. You can see the 8 hertz spike or whatever. So there's some raw output. Okay, there's the actual coherence graph. If I tap hard enough, it'll. Well, I was making it show up there for a minute. Anyway, that's just like multiplying. It's taking like the cross correlation of each channel and then like an autocorrelation of one of them. And then I'm taking the FFTs of those and then multiplying those against the original FFTs. And then it's like taking the product of all that. And then that's my coherence math. Ooh. Oh. Anyway, that's just what I'm working on.
Do you have electrodes on right now, or
no? I'm just tapping on the ADC inputs.
okay.
Okay, so then like down here in the corner, I'm working on like a brain mapping thing. So once I have this, once I have like the band powers figured out for this, because I don't know what actual numbers I'm working with yet. Like I can get the data and do analysis, but then I'll take the band powers and actually analyze those, or not analyze them, but just visualize them nicely here. And it even lets you assign channels. Like there's the green ones, and you can see which channels assigned to them. And then it automatically organizes that. Yeah, go for it.
Hi, Chris here. What kind of device is this?
So it's called the Free EEG 32. It's
yeah.
So it's a 32 channel EEG, and then it's got a little like STM microcontroller on it.
Is the layout that you see on the bottom right, is that realistic? Is that how you have it on your?
Oh yeah, this is so janky. Hold on. So I use the MNI atlas. I just Googled what MNI coordinates correspond to the 1020 locations, and then I just put that in. So like I was able to even like you could visualize this in 3D if you wanted. So I set up like a way where all this FFT data that's getting processed, it'll automatically get like categorized to, it's just like an atlas that has all the data structures built in for each of these. So then it's accumulating all this FFT data, and it's accumulating like band power averages and other things. I'm just kind of figuring this out as I go, because I've never done like professional EEG work.
You may want to look into BrainFlow, which recently integrated the free EEG.
Yeah.
Possibility, the brain shim, the board shim, so you can connect with any language through your serial port to your free EEG device.
Right. Now I don't think they have JavaScript support, unless I'm wrong.
Do you have Java?
He's got JavaScript.
Okay. Well, cool. If I can plug that into this, that'd be great.
Let me check, but I mean, the main thing is like, yeah, I mean, Andre joins Paris, Monday morning our time,
right.
Monday evening their time, and yeah. So he had a couple issues. He didn't know why it wasn't working on Windows.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure that one out myself.
Well, I mean,
some serial libraries work and then others don't, and I'm not sure why.
Yeah, and he's at the mercy of yeah.
What Dimitri and I could figure out was that these STM boards are just like not well supported yet by whatever Windows drivers get assigned. So who knows if it will get official support. But then for some reason, like OpenVibe and what is it, BDF or EDF recorder, those work for. And then Andre said he got it working with some other, like he got it working on Windows somehow. I think it was just Python that wasn't working.
I'm not 100% sure of that.
Maybe I'm wrong. I've been emailing him.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was nice. So, I mean, we got to talk for an hour or so on Monday,
Right.
and let me if I check, I saved the notes with Romain. Let me just see what I put in there.
No, looking at the documentation, and BrainFlow has Java, Python, C++, and the likes, MATLAB, but doesn't have JavaScript.
He doesn't say JavaScript?
Okay.
No.
Yeah, I didn't think so. Mine's like uniquely a web implementation. And then I was able to use GPU math to do all the signal analysis. So it's pretty fast.
Yeah, it doesn't say JavaScript. Yeah, I mean, so do you want to say something about progress on the crowd supply? Like what still needs to be done to
yeah.
get this project ready for release? Because
well, I've been mainly just waiting on Bernard. He's been slow to get his 19-channel headset together, and then I just talked to him this weekend, and I'm not even sure if he's still interested in being part of the crowd supply. So I gotta clarify that. So it'll either launch like ASAP, or Bernard's gonna send me his headsets, and then I'll actually be able to get that material together to launch. I wanted him to be a part of it just because his work's so cool, and he wants it to be out there.
Sure. I mean, but the board itself, or like the board and the headset are separate.
Sure, but if you want to make a splash, right? It'd be cool to have that headset featured. There's I mean, I could launch it now.
Well, I mean, I would still, I think it still needs to be tested with I mean, the reason I point out like a commercial headset,
right,
is just that then when you're collecting data with it,
mm-hmm.
It's like any issues with the data collection are probably due to the board, not the electrodes, not the means at which the electrodes are held to the heads, do it with paste, do it with, a cap.
Right.
And like,
yeah, I don't really have the means to do that myself here, but I mean, yeah,
sure.
I know that in terms of data, it's consistent, but I don't know anything about actual professional EEG.
Well, I mean, so when you say when data is consistent, what does that mean?
Like the noise levels that Dimitri reports, the like 250 nanovolt or whatever, like that's solid, and then like the data throughput's solid. So like as an ADC board, right, it's totally fine. But I don't know about, I'm still learning all the signal analysis stuff to be able to actually verify any of this myself.
Right. I mean, I know that Dimitri used it for the BCI Samara hackathon.
Yeah, and they have no trouble getting like band power data. And Dimitri's been playing with his pogo pen design, and he said he was able to measure gamma even with that. So I don't know how many barriers there are there, if there are any.
Well, I mean, a big one is like, it's one thing to have, or, so it's a good time to segue into a discussion that's relevant for the hardware hub, in the sense that like, what do we want to have the, the kind of like maker difficulty of putting this together and actually using it to collect data, right?
Right.
And so not everybody should be should have to make their own, electrodes and leads and chip to interface with the board. And
Right.
like
Um,
it's a 32 channel board, and it seems to me like the natural thing is to have, at least as an option, like a 32 channel cap that you can get with it,
Sure.
like a low cost one from Alibaba that we check.
No,
Yeah.
I've certainly, I was going to do that originally until I realized Bernard was so far along.
Right. So
I
you
don't
haven't
know.
heard from him in a bit.
Well, I was talking to him. Like one of the reasons I'm putting together this app is because he just needs an easy sort of plug and play method to do the alpha coherence testing, and so I could do that for him. And then
But
he'll be more confident. What's
Yeah.
that?
Well, so would he be using your acquisition, or because like the last time he was on to talk about his work, he was using this little Java program that actually I think a student of Alexei Odostachi at HSE in Moscow wrote.
Okay, that's cool. He told me he was using an EDF recorder. I think that's
It's a Java program that basically converts the free EEG data into and writes out an EDF file.
okay.
And I think this was also one of the issues that came up, which was like, do we, is there documentation of what the raw data coming off the board is?
Are you asking me that? Yeah. Well, like the way I'm doing my software is it's recording all the raw data, and then it's giving you all the transform data as well. It's for each frame that it calculates. And then it organizes, like I said, it organizes it into band powers, and it tags it for which site you're using. And I'm gonna build this out into something that's really pretty well organized. I'm still kind of learning how to like what data people actually want out of this, because I mean I could dump gigs and gigs of from this thing.
Sure. Well, I mean, certainly having because the boards currently don't have a kind of fixed fixed output chip, or and by that I just mean like that turns it into a connector, right? Like something,
For a headset.
Yeah, so like it's like it has to be either something that works with Bernard's, or say something that I think it should be something that's a kind of basically a standard 32 channel ribbon cable.
Oh,
and
sure.
and that
Yeah, Bernard has his own like
goes
thing,
to
which is pretty cool. But I know what you mean.
And like those kinds of things. And then if you've got like how much of the of this JavaScript project, or and can you drop a link? Did you drop a link to that? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I need to put, just to make it work again. If you have an EEG still, then I need to push some changes, but it's there, it works. And yeah, that's going to be getting organized real quick. This whole week's going to be me turning that into like an actual interface and getting the data acquisition together.
Okay. Because certainly, so I mean, Jaden's going to be getting a board, and because of the BrainFlow support, or certainly what I was hoping was with the BrainFlow support, that maybe we could really just use EEG notebooks to
Sure.
to collect some ERP data that we can compare, with other commercial devices. You know,
Cool.
and I think that would say, well, that would, like, I think, be the kind of final validation, right? It's like collect
Absolutely.
data off a person's head,
Right.
and actually look at look at some of the ERP features. But it would, and so in this time frame, what is definitely doable is getting, like, basically a 32 channel cap.
Sure.
But he would still need to wire up the connector.
Right.
I don't know if that's realistic, and
Oh, it should be. It's just find a neat way to put the wires together.
okay, but then then it should really be, it'll have a BrainFlow ID number, and I don't want to say it's just that easy, or I would want Jaden to tell me if it's just that easy to then get the EEG notebook support.
Yeah, it's not too many more steps on that.
Okay.
Yeah, I could probably do it in a day.
Awesome. Yeah. So how I mean, maybe with Dimitri and Josh, we could get the parts, and I could send you a cap. I mean, I think that's the best way of just nailing this down in terms of what it's doing.
Awesome.
Yeah. How do you feel about doing some of the? This is more electronics than we'd talked about, Jaden, or more hardware than we talked about.
That's fine with me. I've been trying to get my hands dirty with more hardware lately, so.
Okay. Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So can we, Josh, how regularly do you talk to Dimitri?
Pretty much daily.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We just text each other whenever. So.
Okay. So, if I've, if I get, if I just tell you what the cable, what the cable pinout is. Yeah. Can he put together can you together with him, but be our, in our time zone, contact who, figures out what we need to get to Jaden in terms of adding that connector support?
Okay. Well, I mean, there's just, bare pin headers here. So we just have to figure out what do we actually want to solder onto this. I mean, shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah. Okay. It's
I know Dimitri uses these, like, right angle headers, but what I would do to make it more compact is just use, vertical headers, and then just find a nice, there's the right angle ribbon cables, and then stick those onto, like, just typical pin headers. That should be fine.
I mean, let me. I mean, I don't even know if that would be the fastest thing. Would probably be to try and get something from, maybe even from Cortex Solutions.
I'll be talking to those guys.
You talking to them?
Yeah, well, we just bought a biosemi.
Oh, okay, right.
We're in the process of getting it. Yeah.
64 channel.
64 channels. We did a last minute kind of minor modification to the default order had like presentation and some machines specifically for that, and we don't actually want to run stimulus stuff with presentation, so we played around with it. But the 64 channels, maybe we'll upgrade to 128 in the future, but we don't need to do that yet. And should be coming in the next few weeks. So there's going to be some fun like EEG lab setup that we're going to have to do. In principle, this is going to be servicing a fairly high throughput like psychiatric cohort study.
Right.
But we don't know how much of that is going ahead as planned due to the pandemic situation. Like the recruitment will definitely be less extensive than it was originally planned. But I'll be asking around for anyone with hands-on experience of using a biosemi in the next few months, like garnering people's recommendations and pro tips.
Yeah. Well, so certainly what Gaz
Lloyd from Cortec has been great.
Yeah. Okay. Lloyd. Yeah, I know Lloyd from a very long time ago. As well as oh boy, now I'm so so the original person at Neuroscan. So this is going back to the 90s, when Neuroscan kind of ruled research EEG. And their chief scientist now works for Lloyd, or MZ. I don't know if anybody remembers MZ, Richard Greenblatt's company. No. I'm dating myself. Let me just. Mark Flieger. So it'd be actually awesome to get Mark to talk at some point, just because he's been around since the beginning of like what I'd call like high density EEG. I mean, other than maybe like Alan Gevins, who was like the first person to really push 100+ channels here in San Francisco. Mark's been doing it. I mean, as well as the guys, the German guys behind I forget what Neuroscan's source imaging package is called. It's but Fuchs has also been around since probably. Flieger and Fuchs have been around for a very long time in this. But I was just wondering whether, Cortex Solutions sells a lot of other equipment, and whether getting like a Falk Minnow cap would be on par, maybe a little bit more than getting one from Alibaba, but like I would feel more secure about the sourcing. I don't know if anybody wants to chime in on that, but I was going to say, John, that what GazLab passes around for biosemi training is basically the MGH manual. So I don't know if anybody's already given you that, or I mean it's publicly available, but it's
No.
I'll find that for sure. And
right. It's just a generic MGH EEG
it's like
manual that
Yeah, it's like
And
it's
they-
like, so you want to collect EEG, and it's like running through the, how to set up the acquisition, like what you should have set on the acquisition system, how to prep a subject, um, how to best practices to troubleshoot like noise that you see on channels, and in the case of biosemi on ribbon cables, right? And then you get into a little bit of, voodoo and superstition in terms of how to denoise these ribbon cables, which is a little crazy, um,
okay.
but
This is
certainly like, yeah, 5 years ago was like a great get your lab started kind of PDF.
great. Yeah, looking forward to skimming through that.
um, I'm just on Cortex site here. Anyway, sorry, it's 8 o'clock. Um, so the like I bet you GasLab has some old EEG caps, biosemi EEG caps, that we can use. But the thing to remember about biosemi is that the caps and the electrodes are separate, right? And of course, biosemis are active electrodes, and so the cap doesn't. I mean, actually, what would be really cool is to use a biosemi cap and then just plug in, just like Soterix. So Soterix makes its electrodes for its TDCS device compatible with the size to plug into a biosemi cap, and would be to like, can you just get a passive ribbon cable, like passive electrode, just silver chloride sintered, electrodes, passive ones, and then connect that to the free EEG board, right? That would be cool because there's actually a lot of biosemi caps. And it's good to keep them separate in the sense like it's more work, but it's less work when you think about the fact that you got to clean them, right? And so being able to separate the cap from the electrodes in a relatively simple fashion becomes pretty key, unless you're doing something like EGI where your net, it's not a cap, it's a net, and you can disinfect the whole thing, clean and disinfect the whole thing. Anyway, I'm looking at some examples here, which I'll just drop. They're selling personal protective equipment too for COVID, of course. Yeah, here you go. Electro caps. I will find out from Lloyd's what the pricing is. I don't know. Or if anybody knows a group that would be willing to donate.
Say I'm about to make one of Dimitri's pogo pin caps.
Well, it's interesting that OpenBCI is. I mean, so here's. So this is not crazy, or again it's not 32 channel, but this is basically what I'm seeing on Alibaba.
Do you want to know the quote, well, the amount that we got the caps for?
Sure. Well, so, but
We-
you're okay. Yeah, the empty of electrodes. Yeah.
Yeah, just caps.
Sure.
It's $763 US.
Really?
Yeah.
Because you see, I sent OpenBCI EEG electrode cap, which is 21 channel, for 400. I mean, it's
Yeah, the ones I saw on AliExpress were like 300. So that's pretty
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. But there would be, I mean,
Why do they cost so much? Like a swim cap. It's just a swim cap, right?
I mean, if you
Like a
do,
magic phone cap.
if you do one of Maren Bixum's like workshops, like where they're just doing the TDS and it's like, the TDS with just the little box that what do they call the box? What do they call the Scientology box?
It's like the stress something. I don't remember.
But it's got a name. Anyway, it looks like it's like just this box of, and anyway, and it's just like a,
E-meter.
so ECBC or ECBCI, ICI BCI actually came with a swim cap. Like a 10-pound swim. He used to joke that like half the kit's cost is the swim cap.
Dimitri and I are trying to figure out. I mean, because he said he was successful doing his theta gamma to octave thing using his pogo pin headset. So I'm ordering all that stuff to try to figure out if there's a way we can mass produce these things, because it would be like $20 in parts, if that. Actually, no, not even that. Like it's like $10 and stuff.
Is it using pogo pins as the electrodes?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Gold, whatever, copper with gold plating.
Yeah.
They make
Is it a
pretty nice
wet
ones.
or dry system?
It'd be dry, and then I mean you could add gel if you wanted. What
Yeah.
he's trying to do is have it, a dry electrode set that can actually get through your hair and not be uncomfortable.
Well, it's. I mean,
We could design a mount for it for the Ultra Cortex.
That'd be cool. See, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just take instructions and follow them.
Well, yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Morgan?
Well, I mean, just a couple things. Like, so one, I think Colonel was really honest about like, if you want this if you want to have good contact, like it's gonna leave a mark.
Yeah, I can 100% verify that.
Okay.
If it doesn't leave a mark on my head, I'm not getting a good signal.
And that was
So it can be a problem if you have sensitive skin. Like for me, everything leaves a mark for days.
Or if you have no hair to cover it up.
Well,
I have hair, but
no, this is a huge problem, right? And this is a big problem when John's going to be dealing with psychiatric population. Say you want to deal with kids. It was kind of one of the kind of use cases that EGI was thinking about was like again, back in the 90s, there was this idea that you actually had to kind of like really abrade the scalp to reduce the impedance, and so that it would hurt or potentially bleed, which is like all sorts of wrong, and definitely all sorts of wrong if you're dealing with a population where that's really going to put them off. Then wearing it for 40 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, that came up a lot when I was doing my research before on people for like people with intellectual disabilities. Was that that's kind of why I got the Muse for a while, was to see if we could do something with that, because that's at least something that's wearable. Where I was doing these demonstrations wearing the Ultra Cortex, and I always had to make the caveat that one of the advances we need to make is finding a system that's more comfortable, because if you put this on someone with who's highly reactive to sensations, they're going to rip it off immediately.
Yeah. So
I tried a very strong spring-loaded dry EEG system, and I wore it for about 2 hours because I was doing some extended data collection. I took it off and I had these concentric rings where all the electrodes were, and it was horrifically visible. It looked like I had some kind of like body modification, or I put a subdermal implant there. Bizarre. And that lasted for hours. Like, if I had done that in the middle of the day, there's no way I could have gone to like a meeting or any kind of thing without people going, what the heck happened to your skin? So it's very legit. I just wanted to add one more data point to don't do it before something where you need to look presentable.
Sure. Well, and don't let me fool you into thinking that EGI somehow came up with a system that doesn't happen. Like when you wear a 128 net or a 256 net, it's tight. And if you wear it for an hour, you've got, divots.
I'll be honest. I think OpenBCI is probably the closest, did they design the Ultra Cortex, or was that someone else?
I think they did.
Okay, that's I think the closest that's come to not getting marks showing, just because they have those comfort units that you could throw into the empty slots as well. And so I found that if you spend a lot of time contouring the comfort units to the shape of your head, and then you fit the rest of the electrodes, it's pretty easy to get a contact that won't feel too painful or leave super deep indents.
But that's great, because even the Muse, if you wear it for an hour and a half, when you take it off, you have a lovely little crease where the front thing is making contact with your forehead.
Well, I mean, I just wanted to add, or back to just what I think is needed for the free EG32 is at least one example where it's not something that we're building, and it's certainly not something we're building with some sort of novel electrodes, placement or, mechanism,
Sure.
where you know, and as best as possible. So I'm just looking here. So let me share this in terms of. So this is here's what OpenBCI is selling for, you know, for a decent price, really, right? I assume that those electrodes still pop out. And you can see, you know, so the downside being like what a biosemi does here is this is a ribbon cable, right? So at least you plug all these in as kind of one thing, or, you know, maybe two things. So on a biosemi, like if this was a 32 channel, it would be two ribbon cables. How well, those must be removable for cleaning. Doesn't look too bad. Let me just, so I mean, I'm now I'm on so looking on Alibaba, got some really, I haven't been on for a while. What is this? I think this is one of the systems I'd seen before. Although I want, you know, buying them by the 100. I guess, I mean, does that mean that it would be 750? But like, if I got 100 of them, then maybe it's 150. Not sure. Anyway, let me see if Cortex, or, you know, Cortex deals with multiple manufacturers, and let's see what they give us in terms of their cheapest. Although I still like the idea of $700 though. That's too much. Or we could easily do an OpenBCI one to get us started. It's 8:20, and we skipped past this, but just wanted to say that Neurobotics is still meeting on Tuesdays, and Jaden took us through the Legendre memory unit paper from the Center for Theoretical Neuroscience, or the Applied Brain Research Group. They have both same principle at both places.
Yeah, just one feeds into the other.
Yeah. I was actually, when I was trying to put this on the meetup, I was like, yeah. And then Nango is what? Or is like Nango's a product of ABR?
Yeah.
Okay. And did I don't know if Diego? No, did Diego join us? No. Because wasn't in that paper they talked about two neuromorphic chips? So they talked about the Lohi or Lohi.
Yeah, the Lohi and the Spinnaker, I think.
No, I think it was something
Or was
else.
it?
I think it was something else, and today I realized that I think it's their board. It's like brain board or something.
The brain board is their FPG.
That's
I don't think that's the one that I have. I don't think it's strong enough to run this model. Let me check. I have the paper somewhere.
yeah. If it's like it's like on the first page, isn't it, or second page?
Yeah. Where is it? LMU.
Oh, yeah. Keep going on that. I did want to also mention, if everybody's seen the Neosensory contest that's come up. So it was on Hackster, Hackster.io, and so this is David Eagleman's company that's trying to spin off their use 1sense to help replace with another. Oh yeah, Nivi. So we it's Jaden's the organizer, and it's on Slack.
Okay.
So we're in the Neurorobotics channel on Slack. And
okay, I've been referring to the Discord channels.
so like I love it. I love that you're progressive with your
I should put it in the Discord as well.
We should all be using Discord.
Yeah. I use it for everything else other than NeurotechX.
Are you not on the NeurotechX Discord?
I am. I just always forget to look at it and post stuff there.
It's like I was posting stuff. I mean, I was posting stuff in the VR channels.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, we just haven't, I mean, I know that Brian and Yannick understand the problem that we're having.
Anyway. Because I noticed, I finally noticed how annoying it is on Slack that stuff gets deleted or hidden.
Oh, it's not just annoying. It's downright
criminal.
and then, yeah, I think we've got zero chance of getting a free membership. And honestly, like unless we want to cull a whole bunch of users by just saying like they're not active, we couldn't even afford nonprofit.
Yeah,
couldn't afford nonprofit.
Okay, I've got the info on that board. It's called Brain Drop, and it is their board. I guess it was made by it's a combination between them and an engineer from Stanford. It was one of his PhD thesis.
So do they still sell it?
They do not sell it yet. They're still working. They did a talk that I watched recently at like some Intel conference, I think, and they were talking about trying to release it, I believe, by first quarter 2021.
Okay.
But here's the paper on the board as well.
Yeah, I just are we looking at this?
Okay. Yeah, this one's non-paywall blocked.
Okay, yeah, good. I the one thing I pay for is my IEEE.
Yeah, I have to get used to going through non-paywall sources again.
No, I hear you. So super interesting, and one of the reasons that I bring up Diego is Diego's an FPGA engineer, and has been super interested in neuromorphic computing, and certainly things like memristors and such. But okay, so this is separate from what was the brain board was the thing I was looking at, right?
No, this is the one from the LMU paper.
Yeah. Brain board is like an FPGA separate.
Yeah, that's this thing. It's built off the Xilinx Pink Z1.
Okay.
Yeah, and so they sell. What they're selling is essentially their IP, and so they sell it to you. You put it on the SD card, and you load it up there, and it works.
I see. Okay, and so let me just. So this is what Mike was talking about. Mike Parada. Sorry, I just want to make sure we get that into at least the notes, because Neosensory is doing this right now, and I think there's a deadline of the 15th. Is that right? Anyway, I still love what Neosensory is doing, and for those who might be interested in working on a project that's in the spirit of spirit of Hackaday's super conference that was last weekend. And please, we've been meeting Tuesdays at 5 for neurorobotics, but maybe we're gonna do 6.
Yeah, we can do 6.
We could do 6. I finally moved my daughter into a full day preschool, so appreciated.
Yeah, of course. Dylan and I have very loose schedules.
Cool. And but it was interesting. We talked about some other stuff too, as well as the top BCI award paper, the handwriting, handwriting BCI from was it Shinjoy Krishna Shinjoy?
I don't remember the name. The person who is the advisor for every neurotech company.
Right. Yeah, it does have quite a list. Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Neuralink, MindX, and another one, I think.
Yeah. And so somewhat related to maybe brain boards or but next week there's going to be a meetup of Brains at Bay, and this is I think not so loosely affiliated Numenta group. So for those don't recognize, Numenta is Jeff Hawkins' company, and they just had an announcement. This is like Numenta just had an announcement about some sort of like 50x speed up in terms of learning architecture, like using their sparse learning architecture that I assume has something to do with their hierarchical temporal memory units. But Brains at Bay next week has got a great list of speakers. So it's like Rafis from forget his last name, but I think we've talked about this professor at Oxford about kind of like model based EEG. But all the speakers are basically talking about brain. What is it like? Alternatives to.
It says alternatives to a back propagation.
To back propagation, yeah. And so it's a speaker from Oxford, a speaker from Amsterdam, and I think it's the CEO or CTO of Brain Neuromorphics.
Yeah, the co-founder, it says.
A co-founder, yeah. And so should be really interesting. It's usually it's always, Numenta, for those who don't know, Numenta does all its lab meetings publicly. So you can basically be a fly on the wall at Numenta HQ, and Jeff and his group, Subadai and others, are in the thick of like cellular neuroscience, but of brain circuits, and so should be really interesting. I'm signed up. or it's on a Wednesday morning, or I believe. All right, what else we got on the? So yeah, and there's these Legendre, these are very long memory analysis units, or capable of very long memory, which certainly seemed interesting in the context of nonlinear time series analysis. And I put up one of the Keras, that they've got a Keras implementation of this. There's a new, so Ross World 2020 was also today. I don't know if anybody got that. There was definitely some good OpenCV stuff. But the main thing I thought was interesting was that OpenAI released RoboGym, and but at the same time, like, there was like a bit of controversy on Reddit about the ICLR paper. Like, so this ICLR paper kind of got reviewed poorly because it was using Mujoko, and people were like, that's commercial software and therefore not reproducible, and therefore, like, we're going to give this a poor score, and with poor score, the paper is not going to be accepted into ICLR, right? And nobody, or
that seems excessive.
Well, it's kind of funny that today, I mean, I assume because there's also, Ross World today, but, OpenAI releases RoboGym. And of course, it's OpenAI Gym plus Mujoko. I mean, one of the first comments was like, I wish this uses PyBullet. Let me just see if I can. It's that guy Hard Maru.
Oh yeah, I follow him.
Yeah, like he so I'm gonna see if I just put Hard Maru Mujoko.
Yeah, it's on his Twitter.
Wow, it's funny. There's even some going back 2016. Like, this is obviously a sore point.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a decent question though, right?
Well, so this is one of the comments on the Twitter thread, which is exactly what I thought immediately, was that Mujoko has a free academic license. So, like, if you're just trying to reproduce it and you're affiliated with an academic institution, you can. I mean, I have a Mujoko license, and
right, but but a private citizen can't.
Right. But I mean, a private citizen can't replicate a lot of the stuff that is done in academic papers unless they have. I mean, there's like, okay, you have a drone, for example, and so let's say you build the drone yourself for a research experiment. Unless you provide, construction steps for that drone, it's technically not reproducible unless you adapt stuff to your whatever system you're using in the end. And so, as far as things can only be so reproducible, I guess, given their nature of what they're doing. And I guess as far as it goes, I think that's a pretty solid level of reproducibility if it's all it's missing is the interface, because there are other interfaces.
Right. Well, I mean, certainly, and we brought this up at Neurobotics meeting, right? Is like, papers with code is like, you can download, everything is open and free.
Yeah.
Right. I mean,
would they not accept something that uses Mujoko on papers with code?
I don't think papers with codes, the project would but I think, I mean, Papers with Code has their own Slack for interested, and I'm curious if we went to their Slack, like, are they having a discussion? I dropped in the link to that Twitter, the Twitter post today. Yeah, ICLR submission is given a clear rejection. Oh, okay. Hard Maru. I have kind of mixed views about this.
There's a section for state of the art on Mujoko games on Papers with Code. Yeah.
But does that mean that they're? Yeah, are those showing up in the list? Or
Meaning what?
I mean, like, so in the weekly list, are you getting Mujoko projects? Yes. Is that what that means? What you just said?
The weekly, you mean like the Papers with Code weekly list?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't. I just went to their website and looked up Mujoko.
Yeah.
And a bunch of different stuff came up.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of what I based it off of.
That's yeah. Yeah. I see Mujoko. Yeah. There's another great neuroscience AI meeting this week is the NASIS at Cold Spring Harbor. Great set of speakers. I put a link to the NeuroHub. NeuroHub finally had a public presentation. So that together with Emily Dupree put up her slides on Zenodo. So I put the NeuroLibra link there. It's been Pi Data this week. There's been so much going on. Jesus. And hopefully Devesh will tell us about the cognition and computation, the ACTAR diffusion drift model EEG course that's going on in India. I know he signed up and has access to those videos. Where did those, although there was more discussion of diffusion drift models where this week? It came up a little today at the NIMH meeting, right? I mean, they were talking about some of those in the computational psychiatry meeting today. I thought that was a good presentation.
Yeah, he has a lot of stuff, doesn't he? It was Martin Pallas.
Yeah.
Where is he based?
He's Oklahoma. Lauritsen. It's like the Lauritsen Center. I forget. It's Lauritsen Center for Brain Imaging or something like that.
Yeah. But he's mostly talking about cognitive. Yeah, these kind of learning tasks, variants of these learning tasks, and how they reflect aberrant learning processes or decision making processes in patient populations.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see these. You wouldn't call drift diffusion like psychophysics, but it's got that kind of flavor, right?
It's like psychometrics,
Is it psychometrics?
Well,
psychometrics is more like factor analysis of IQ tests and stuff.
Well, but it's that gets you started, and then it's like taking it to the next level in the sense that, like, you've got these it's like this distributional analysis, this Bayesian analysis. I mean, if you look in like Luce's book on reaction times, like a lot of the mathematical approaches to psychology were developed for basically reaction times, right?
So I don't know this loose reaction times. Is that like an old one?
Like, yeah, it's like it was like the textbook of the 50s or 60s, like LUCE. Sorry, I'll find.
Oh yeah.
This is the St. John's in me to find the.
Oh, I'm kind of quite into finding the
so
historical kind of trajectories of things.
This is certainly, this was like the old school, I believe that this is 1991. I think is second edition. I want to say, or maybe even later, but.
Okay.
It's maybe not as bad. It's not as old as I thought.
Did you?
But it's a huge tome.
I mean, it sounds similar in kind of spirit to Arthur Jensen's book. What is that called? Chronopsychology or chronometry?
Yeah.
Mental chronometry. That's it,
right.
Isn't it?
Right.
And he was at that for like 50 years.
And it's very much maybe what you were thinking is like you go back to the to Donders and Wundt and people, and they were doing some psychophysics, but they were also doing some basically like chronometry, and that was like this in the spirit of what gave us who's the American at the turn of the century, Harvard. I know this.
The IQ test guy, Thorndike.
Before James.
James, you're talking about James, right? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. that's why I'm like, why am I forgetting? But it was the German school that fed into William James, and experimental psychology. But I think it was really like loose and to some degree like starting to have access to computers that really got it really going. I mean, this is like so many cool math techniques actually came out of psychology, right? I mean, certainly lots of good tensor analysis.
Yeah.
Right. And it was like basically trying to find anything they could to process multi-table data. But Luce is a classic.
Yeah, I'll check it out.
And but why did it also come up recently? I'm not remembering right now. Yeah, and the Learning Salon tomorrow has got Gary Marcus. Will be their guest. Have you caught any of the previous videos?
No, not yet. Not personally.
Okay.
I've heard good things about him. I don't think maybe I've heard a bit because I feel like I've heard a bit of banter at the start, or a bit of small talk or something.
Yeah, I mean they've had a great set of speakers. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we'll be in touch. Oh, sorry. And Brute, do you want to say something? Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna meet with Adam next week. Yeah, that would be awesome. And yeah, Josh, we'll be in touch. Hopefully you'll get that this week. You should get it in the mail tomorrow, Jaden. The free.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Take care, guys.
Yeah. Good night, Josh.
Good night.
So yeah, I was hoping to. We had somebody. Do you guys remember Nick White joined from Boston? He had a Muse 2. Anyway, he worked at Ginkgo. He works at Ginkgo. I was hoping we would talk about NeuroSynBio. Anyway, next week is the iGEM Giant Jamboree, which is like a big synthetic bio conference. Or it's a student conference, but some very cool stuff there. Anyway, that was the rundown of events. There's yeah.
Can I put like a random technical question to the audience?
Random.
Before we wrap up.
Yeah.
Is anyone familiar with packet environment management using Poetry?
Oh.
It's a kind of newish Python environment package managing thing.
Did that come up at one of the OpenBCI meetings? Like, did we talk about that? Jaden?
Well, so
I don't think so. It came up in the GitHub issues this week.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to kind of learn about poetry, and it's been slow going. I'm trying to kind of get my head around whether I can use it in Windows or not outside of the Linux subsystem, which isn't like fully compatible with a lot of things.
What's it selling itself as beyond? Like, why would I want to use this instead of?
Well,
Conda
so I guess it's like supposed to be a more lightweight and potentially more kind of functional version of Conda. Yeah. And I've had it kind of recommend. I've heard there's one guy I know who's kind of a real Python brain, who mentioned this in the summer when we were doing GSOC, and I didn't really think much more about it. But now we've got this big like pull request from Eric, who definitely seems like a very accomplished Python guy. Basically switching the version control over to Poetry. Yeah, I was just wondering if there's any experience in the room on that. It sounds like no one's kind of piping up, so I guess no one has any kind of strong views. So I'll
sorry.
I
definitely
labor it.
I visited the site once. I forget what the context was, but it was some project that was like, oh yeah, we're using Poetry. On things like this, it's like, the people who were talking today at the the Open Science meeting in Montreal, It's like, like Greg Kier and stuff. Like, are they using poetry?
Yeah, right. They could well be.
I mean, I would. That would be a great question to ask them, or maybe. It's got a cool web
Thing
page.
is that I've just looked at the installation. There's 2 installation routes in Windows. One is through PowerShell, and the other is through Windows Bash, or Bash for Windows, which is the Windows Linux subsystem. And I don't want to use the Windows Linux subsystem, not because I don't like it, but because I'm not sure that it has full device compatibility. So that leaves PowerShell, and PowerShell is horrible in general, but it wasn't working for me installing in PowerShell either. So now I'm left with like running Poetry in a Conda environment, and I'm not sure if that's like completely defeating the point.
That does.
I don't understand enough about it to know, whether that matters.
I mean, I'm just looking.
I don't know that it matters on the side of the user, because I know you can pip install a package that was managed with Poetry.
Yeah.
So you should be able to install it from Conda as well, and it shouldn't really make a difference. I don't know.
Yeah, it should be. It should be. I think that's probably what it's going to end up being. I have had some errors doing this pip install now, which is a shame. So more work to figure this out.
Yeah, I'll take a look at that over the weekend. We've got that volunteer work tomorrow. We have a meeting tomorrow still?
I haven't heard back from the ethics people yet. Like I pestered them on Tuesday, and I pestered them last week, and that's what we're waiting on. I don't really want to like cancel twice in a row, but if they don't get back to us, then I don't have any major updates.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good night, guys. I'll be off.
No.
Yeah.
Super glad you could join us, and let's be in touch, and I'll get a chance to check out the lab work, and love to have you come back and talk more about that.
Yeah, sure. Like there is a YouTube video too. It's really cool. Yeah.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It also just made me think of Jamie Tyler. There was a lot of focused ultrasound stuff this week, but he's also got there's another spin-off where they're doing transcranial vagus nerve stimulation with drone pilots. but
could you please repeat what you said? The thing is, like, for some reason, I'm unable to hear you.
Oh, okay. Yes, I'll send you a message.
Yeah, sure. Message would be great. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. So I'll see you guys later then. Have a good night. Yeah.
You as well.
Take care.
Yeah. Yeah, you too.
Let me just find this Arizona. They also have cool videos of this guy. Doing drone stuff with anyway. How did poetry come up? Or is it more for developers to use, and then you can push a project to PyPy and then it can be pip installed? I mean,
it honestly it came up really because the Eric guy wanted to use a newer version of MNE, and because we had it set to a specific version and not a greater than or equals to version, he was getting like an error every time due to the setup.py. So although it seems like something that we should aim to do down the line, it was a bit of a heavy solution to a really easy to fix problem.
Yeah. But he's but the thing is, he's also like done a bunch of.
We already did most of it for us.
Like good stuff in the PR. It's also got like a continuous integration thing and.
Nice.
Yeah, so we probably should figure out how to, if we can make it work and use it.
If you want to accommodate it, yeah. But we also need to check that it works.
Yeah.
And I also need to know if we're not like if this isn't some really bad idea or an inadvisable decision or something we should be like thinking hard about before doing some switch, things like that. At the moment, it looks like it's an optional thing.
Yeah,
well,
and from my research,
the requirements is gone.
Oh, okay. This is the guy in. I mean, he's in Sweden. He's joined as at the Paris Hack Night before.
Right. Yeah. He's doing some sleep or not sleep, but he's doing something with kind of activity tracking,
activity timing. Yeah. Okay. I see. Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, the pull request has lots in it.
So I mean, maybe this could also be something that that we talk about at Brain Hack Ontario, and we get him.
I think I'd like to get it done before then.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But it does depend on like it working.
Yeah.
I ran it once and I got an install fail just now. And yeah, I wasn't getting that before. Not exactly sure why. But it's also more like it's mainly a developer thing, right? It's like we're like moving away from a requirements.txt to a pyproject.toml and what's involved in that, and is it worth it? Like how much do you need to understand that before we do it, etc. Funny enough, I sent an email to the guy who I was just mentioning, who I said is like a really smart guy who mentioned this in the summer, and he just replied like a minute ago, and he said, well, I said, so, I mean, sorry, Eric, but I said some slightly random guys put in a PR to change the installation process in this library that we're developing. Any comments? Gave him the link, and he says, "This is exactly how the switch to poetry went down in one of my projects. Some random guy submits a PR, and that's what we did." But in any case, yes, he's saying it is the new best way to do package management, but it depends on the complexity of your project. And
I mean, to necessarily to handle like multiple platforms, or
I think from reading through the spiel, like the main thing is that Conda doesn't like track dependencies thoroughly. It'll like install things and then if you install something else, then it'll update things, and then.
So are you talking about like like second order dependencies.
Yeah, something like that.
Gotcha.
It sounded like that was the thing, but it's not. It's certainly not super clear from the documentation.
Yeah. Yeah. But so I mean, I ended up here because of some project, for sure.
Yeah. It might be overkill, I guess. This is the possibility. Is it might be overkill for our requirements, and yeah, like there's a certain amount of simplicity in keeping things within one system, because we definitely want people using Conda terminals, because the alternatives in Windows are not great. You know, like it would be Git Bash, or it would be PowerShell, or it would be and none of those are particularly nice. Or easy to use or easy to install, or you know. So I think like just the access point, Conda like is from the point of view of VG Notebooks, like it's serving as an access point as well as an environment manager. And we wouldn't want to be, so we definitely want to keep that. We definitely want to be still working in a Conda terminal. And like I said, now the question is there any kind of fundamental, you know, issue with using poetry within Conda?
Well, I mean, so I'm guessing that it's like trying to do Conda in a pure Python way, but that shouldn't you know, like it shouldn't matter once you've got Python installed. Like everything else should work. You know, and it's like project management, right? Or
yeah, well, try it out. If you have time, Morgan, try.
Try that PR.
Another thing I just learned is how to get pull a PR and try it out locally.
Yeah,
but,
and I'll see if I can. I'll see if he can come next Monday. If he can join us next Monday and talk to us about poetry. Yeah, at least at the Paris group, and he can explain to us. I mean, I'd like to hear what he has to say about it too.
Yeah, great. That would be informative.
And let me. Oh, okay. Sorry, I'm seeing. I don't know if Michael Haji is. Did Michael get in? We have a list of everybody who's been.
I gotta head off. Have a good night.
Yeah, good night, Jaden.
See ya.
Oh, I'm seeing your Aaron Schwartz Day stuff, Brian.
Yep. Yeah, so I did found out I can at least mention that the Internet Archive is working on a research article and scholarly article archive that later tonight I'm creating a feedback form for testing. I'll probably announce it in the Neurotech stuff tomorrow because I thought some people would be interested. Yeah. You're currently muted.
Yes, I'm being told that it's after 9.
Yeah.
And that a certain young lady needs to be put to bed. Wanted to say one thing though, Ryan, which is I think that anytime that there's something going on for Aaron Schwartz Day, that there should be some good NLP of multi-article, multi-journal text summarization, text mining, and it's the national labs are doing it like at massive scale because it's a smart thing to do, right?
Yeah.
It's what we should obviously be doing. Like the amount of text that's being generated is too much for any one human to read, and
Yeah.
and it is exactly what it's exactly what he thought, or yeah. And
yeah, I mean, I don't remember exactly how many articles I heard they have put in it so far. But it's a absurd number.
Yeah.
But they don't know how to allow 25 million.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think I think it would be, or certainly another an actual meetup that was also today, that was scheduled at the same time as NeurotechX Zurich, was actually a group called NLP Zurich. and which is, by the way, just a really awesome NLP group. They get great speakers, and one of their focuses this week was text summarization and article summarization. But not only that, Microsoft Research is doing great stuff in terms of like reviewing a bunch of articles.
Yeah, that's another thing this can help with it, the review process, because I know a couple people who used to be article reviewers for Nature and stuff, and they just were like, it's such a mess.
Well, so I mean, Archive and Open Review and groups like that, but I'm talking about where the NLP, because you have access to the text, like you're doing multi-article text summarization.
Yeah,
and, basically you're doing lit reviews.
Like that was one of the big things Aaron wanted, was to be able to compare findings, find which ones might need to be retested, because no one reviewer for these journals can actually compare all of these articles in even a single field and see if they actually have published things that counteract each other. Also, it could create more standard methodologies for testing by seeing what people are doing wrong and what people are doing right on a much bigger scale. There's so many uses.
So I've got to wrap up, because I know I'm going to get more calls, which is what I'm getting down here. So I want to thank our videographers, Ryan and Alex. I want, if we're NeurotechX, then John is our Professor X, and want to thank him for being up until past midnight, and and like see you next week. We've got